I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now. I need your full, undivided attention because a constitutional crisis just erupted on the House floor. What you are about to see changes everything we know about law and order in Mish-iku. The algorithms are already working to bury this explosive footage, so you must hit that subscribe button immediately. Join our network right now to secure the truth before it gets wiped from your feed. Do not wait. Let us set the stage for what happened inside that hearing room. The House Oak Versite Suhab Q MITE convened a critical field hearing in Shaharlat, North Carolina. The objective of the Republican leadership was transparent. They wanted to weaponize the entire venue. They wanted to permanently stamp Democrats with the ultimate political liability. Soft on crime. That was their pre-written headline. The cameras were rolling. The trap was meticulously set. They expected a standard partisan defensive retreat. They did not get it. Instead, Representative Jamie Raskin walked into that hostile room and executed a devastating tactical ambush. He did not play defense. He did not apologize. He took their entire political narrative, flipped it upside down, and slammed it right back down on their own heads. He began by shattering the very foundation of the hearing. He did this by adopting the role of the ultimate truth translator. He pointed directly to a local North Carolina newspaper headline from Thu News und Observer. The headline perfectly captured the absolute absurdity of the trap. It stated that Republicans are in charge in North Carolina, but somehow Democrats are to blame for violent crime. Think about that. The sheer hypocrisy is staggering. Raskin did not just call it a paradox. He decoded the reality for everyone watching. He weaponized official, undeniable statistics to completely obliterate their talking points. He revealed that Democratic-led cities across the United States are currently spearheading a historic nationwide plunge in violent crime, especially homicides, especially violent assault. He contrasted this current reality with the dramatic, unprecedented spike in those exact same crime categories under the first TRUHMP administration. This was not just a disagreement over data. This was a total, irreversible demolition of a political brand. Raskin looked directly across the room and defined exactly what the opposition was doing. He called it the systematic implementation of gangster state policies. While one party claims to champion law and order, their actual legislative actions tell a different story. They are systematically undermining public safety in communities all across UMERIQ. They create the chaos, and then they stand in front of the television cameras to blame the opposition. The political theater was exposed in real time. You could actually see the color drain from the faces of the committee members. They sat frozen. Their notebooks remained untouched. Their pre-planned talking points were suddenly useless. The entire room fell dead silent because there was no comeback for this level of factual precision. This was an absolute masterclass in political warfare, a total, undeniable reversal of power. This was the exact moment the hearing transformed from a partisan trap for Democrats into an unanswerable, devastating indictment of the people who called it. Wait, it gets worse. Now, what I am about to show you changes the whole picture. Just when the committee thought the bleeding had stopped, Jamie Raskin drove the blade deeper. He shifted the focus from abstract policy data to a raw, undeniable betrayal of Icun law enforcement. He looked across the aisle and forced everyone to confront the dark reality of Day 1, January 20th, 2021. On his very first day in office, Donald Trump did something unprecedented in the history of the Republic. He issued sweeping pardons for nearly 1,600 convicted January 6th insurrectionists. These were not peaceful protesters. These were individuals who either pleaded guilty or were convicted beyond a reasonable doubt by juries of their own peers. Raskin did not use vague language. He weaponized the specific details. He listed the weapons used against American heroes: baseball bats, steel pipes, broken furniture, Trump flags, Kunfe du right battle flags, BAR mace sprayed directly into the eyes of law enforcement. The human cost was staggering. 140 MEH Recon police officers were wounded, disfigured, disabled, and hospitalized on that single day. 140. The room grew heavy as Raskin applied a micro to macro zoom, forcing the committee to look at the broken bodies behind the political talking points. He told the story of Sergeant Aquilino Gonel, an immigrant who came to Mer Aiku as a child, fell in love with the ideals of this country, and achieved his dream of becoming a United States Capitol Police officer. He was a veteran who served honorably in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yet Sergeant Gonel testified that the violence he faced on January 6th at the hands of those insurrectionists was medieval in nature. It was far worse than anything he had ever witnessed in active combat zones overseas. He fought for hours to protect the lawmakers in that room. The cost? His left foot was utterly smashed and destroyed. His rotator cuff was completely ripped apart. He could no longer lift his shoulder. He was beaten repeatedly in the head and face. He tried everything to return to the job he loved, but the force declared him physically unfit to serve. He was forced into retirement by the very mob DAH Null Truhump incited. Today, he lives on a mere fraction of his former income while his attackers walk free with presidential pardons. Then came the story of AWFI Ser Michael Funohne, an off-duty district Uhavi Columbia cop who heard the desperate distress calls on his radio. He did not have to go. He chose to run toward the danger. He arrived at the Cap I Tool, fought for hours, and was eventually dragged into the hostile crowd. They beat him. They tased him. He suffered a massive heart attack. As he lay suffocating, he had to beg for his life, crying out that he had 4 daughters at home. And here is the ultimate rule of contrast that exposes the true nature of this betrayal. Raskin revealed that a plaque honoring the indomitable valor of these officers has been blocked from being hung in Thu House, Uhatvi, Rep Ra Zentu Tivs. Not one single dollar of federal relief has been allocated to the families of these broken officers. But wait, look at the other side of the ledger. A secret provision was sneaked into legislation to award $1 million to Republican senators. Why? Because they were inconvenienced when their phone records were subpoenaed as part of a legitimate criminal conspiracy investigation. One party claims to back the blue, yet they reward the conspirators with a $1 million jackpot while leaving the officers who bled for them to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Here is what nobody is talking about on television. While the mainstream media is obsessing over the political theater and the surface-level soundbites, a much darker, much more dangerous operation is quietly taking place behind the scenes. We are witnessing the deliberate, systematic dismantling of the United States Department of Justice. I need you to understand the magnitude of this. This is the absolute core of what Jamie Raskin calls the gangster state policy. The administration did not just pardon the criminals, they actively went after the people who caught them. Following the events of January 6th, the administration proceeded to fire dozens of Federal Bureau UHV investigation agents and the most experienced career federal prosecutors. These were not partisan operatives. These were career civil servants appointed under both Republican and Democratic presidents. They were terminated for one single reason. They had successfully done their jobs. They had worked on the January 6th investigations. They successfully prosecuted individuals for violently attacking police officers, storming the Capitol, and declaring they were going to hang the VYS President in order to overthrow a presidential election. And they were fired because of it. Nothing like this has ever happened before in the entire history of the Department of Justice. It is a massive, unforgivable violation of civil service protections, constitutional rights, and the fundamental principles of public safety. But the hidden truth goes much deeper than just January 6th. There is a terrifying pattern of behavior that extends to the highest levels of global criminal enterprises. Look at the official pardon list. Donald Trump recently pardoned cryptocurrency executive Changpeng Zhao. This is a man who was sentenced to prison and ordered to pay one of the largest corporate penalties in global history after pleading guilty to enabling massive money laundering through his cryptocurrency exchange. According to federal prosecutors, his platform actively aided terrorist networks, including Hamas and Al-Qaeda. The very people who wished to destroy this country were facilitated by his network. Yet, he receives a presidential pardon. Look at Ross Ulbricht. He is the creator of The Silk ROHD. That was an online dark web black market that allowed thousands of criminals to distribute hundreds of kilograms of dangerous illegal drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and lethal opioids, destroying countless American families and flooding our streets with poison. He also received a full pardon. And then there is the most shocking revelation of all. Let us talk about what happened with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was transferred from a real prison to a minimum security prison camp immediately after the number 2 official at Two Department, UV Justice, went to visit her on July 22nd. When Democrats on the Oversight Committee moved to subpoena her, Raipub Lee Kunz initially agreed. The very next day, she was sent her subpoena. The day after that, on July 24th, another high-level political operative went to see her. He did not go there to ask about other co-conspirators. He did not go to investigate whether additional crimes had been committed. He went to find out exactly what she might say about Donald Trump when she came to testify before Congress. Apparently satisfied with her answers, the great champion of law and order authorized her immediate transfer to a prison camp where no offender of her classification had ever been permitted to go. People wait months or years for a transfer like that, after proving they have a compelling reason. She was transferred overnight. Once there, she receives superstar hotel treatment. She gets room service brought directly to her cell. She gets special exercise privileges. She receives special visitors who are allowed to bring computers, and the administration does not even try to deny it. Instead, they retaliate against the whistleblowers who expose this corruption to the Congressional Committee. Her own lawyer actually bragged about the fact that those whistleblowers were punished. I am not speculating. I am not repeating rumors. These are official congressional records, verified timelines, and testimonies from brave whistleblowers. The federal government's ability to investigate and prosecute actual criminals is being destroyed with a wrecking ball just to protect political loyalists and punish the investigators. We have talked about the political games taking place in the Capitol. We have talked about the unprecedented pardons and the weaponization of the justice system. But right now, I need you to lean in and listen very closely. I need to bring this terrifying reality directly to your front door. Because if you think this is just a distant Washington story involving politicians in suits, you are entirely wrong. This is about what happens when the highest office in the nation unleashes convicted, violent criminals back into your immediate neighborhoods. Jamie Raskin did not just bring data to this committee hearing, he brought a living, breathing nightmare. Let us look at the case of a man named Taylor Turanto. He was convicted of multiple serious crimes for his violent actions on January 6th. By every metric of law and order, he should have been permanently removed from society. Instead, DAH Donald Trump pardoned him. He wiped the slate clean. He set a dangerous man completely free. Fast forward to the summer of 2023. Turanto was not rehabilitated by this act of presidential mercy. He was highly emboldened. He was arrested again, but look at what the federal authorities actually found in his possession. Hundreds of rounds of live, lethal ammunition, 2 fully functional firearms, a machete. He had all of this tactical gear while he was actively live streaming himself from the dark woods near the personal residence of former President Barack Obama. He was on the internet, threatening to detonate a massive car bomb. But here is the specific detail that made the entire hearing room drop several degrees in temperature. On his way down to the Obama residence, Turanto made a deliberate pit stop. He did not stop at a gas station or a grocery store. He stopped at a local, quiet elementary school. And it was not just any random school. It was the exact elementary school located precisely 2 blocks away from Jamie Raskin's family home. It was the very school where all 3 of Raskin's children had attended. Turanto looked directly into his camera, broadcasting live to his radicalized followers, and announced his exact geographic location. He explicitly stated that he did not want to reveal Raskin's home address yet because, in his own chilling, unforgettable words, he wanted Raskin all to himself. Think about the sheer, paralyzing terror of that exact moment. A pardoned federal criminal armed with guns and a machete hunting a sitting United States Congressman from the playground of his children's elementary school. Fortunately, by pure chance, Raskin and his family were not inside their home when Turanto stopped there. But ask yourself this crucial question. If a prominent, highly protected member of the United States Congress has a pardoned armed criminal stalking the perimeter of his family's property, who is protecting your local elementary school? Who is protecting your quiet neighborhood when violent predators are given a golden ticket straight out of federal prison? This brings us to the massive macro impact. We are witnessing the total systemic collapse of your localized security infrastructure. While the administration was busy throwing open the prison doors for their political foot soldiers, they took a wrecking ball to the actual law enforcement capability of this country. The Department of Justice is currently hemorrhaging thousands of highly trained lawyers and elite federal prosecutors. They are having a nearly impossible time recruiting decent legal talent to work in this absurd environment. Why? Because the prosecutorial functions of the government have been entirely hijacked. Here is where it directly hits your wallet and your family's safety. To fund this endless political circus, they are draining massive resources away from the real existential threats in your community. They are aggressively pulling funding away from federal task forces dedicated to stopping human sex trafficking. They are pulling specialized agents off of complex cases involving child sexual exploitation. They are abandoning the daily fight against international drug trafficking cartels. All of these resources are being redirected to serve a singular political program. And remember their favorite, loudest talking point? They love to accuse others of defunding the police. Yet, in their very first days in power, they quietly eliminated hundreds of vital security grants that were actively being given directly to your local law enforcement agencies. They literally defunded your local police. They stripped away the essential budget that your local cops desperately need to fight the actual predators in your community, all while letting federal criminals out the back door. When you reward criminal behavior at the absolute highest levels of government, you get a gangster state, and you are the one left paying the ultimate price. Let us go back to that committee room in Charlotte for one final chilling detail. When Jamie Raskin finished speaking, he did not just politely yield his remaining time. He gathered his official documents, the pages detailing the horrific crimes of pardoned insurrectionists, the medical reports describing the shattered bones of Cap-I-Toll police officers, the evidence of the complete weaponization of the federal justice system. He gathered them all and dropped them directly onto the heavy wooden desk. You could actually hear the physical thud echo through the committee room microphones. Following that sound, there was nothing but dead, heavy silence from the political opposition. The politicians who walked into that room expecting a very easy partisan victory were entirely paralyzed. They had absolutely no response. But that silence is not the end of this story. That silence is the exact cliffhanger we are all currently living inside of right now. Because right at this exact moment, we are standing at a terrifying intersection in American history, and there are only two possible scenarios for how this ends. Scenario number one is the dark path. The systematic dismantling of our institutions continues without interruption. The gangster state model is fully completed and permanently installed over our government. The rule of law becomes a blunt weapon used strictly against everyday citizens, while the powerful elite and their violent political foot soldiers operate with absolute, untouchable immunity. In this specific scenario, dangerous individuals with the correct political connections roam your local streets freely. Meanwhile, the dedicated federal prosecutors and local police who attempt to stop them are fired, bankrupted, and professionally destroyed. Scenario number two is the Great Awakening. Jamie Raskin taking control of that hearing room becomes the necessary spark. It becomes the exact moment the American public finally recognizes the massive, coordinated fraud being perpetrated against their personal safety. This single hearing becomes the catalyst for a massive, unstoppable citizen-led movement to purge the institutional corruption, demand total accountability, and drag the scales of justice back to the center. Which scenario becomes our permanent, inescapable reality? I cannot answer that for you. The wealthy politicians in Washington District Columbia are definitely not going to answer that for you. The mainstream media algorithms are actively working right now to distract you from even asking the question. The line between a functioning constitutional republic and a permanent lawless gangster state is razor thin. We are balancing on it right now. The answer to what happens next does not reside in the halls of Congress. It resides right here. It resides in what you decide to do with this information in the next 10 seconds. Do not stay silent. Drop your unvarnished thoughts into the comments down below. Tell me which scenario you believe we are walking into. And if you want to be part of the only network that actually exposes the hidden truth before they can successfully hide it, you need to act. You need to hit that subscribe button. You need to hit the join button right now. Become a member. Stand with us on the front lines. We will see you in the next broadcast.